Tequila, it's in your margarita, your shots, and maybe your regrettable text messages. But behind every bottle is a story of time, tradition, and transformation. Here's how a pointy plant becomes Mexico's most famous spirit. The Blue Agave, the soul of tequila. Let's head on over to the sun-drenched fields of Jalisco, Mexico. Here, under the clear blue sky, rows upon rows of spiky blue agave plants stretch as far as the eye can see. These aren't your average houseplants. These are the mighty blue agave, the very soul of tequila. Now, to be called tequila, at least 51% of the spirit must come from blue agave, grown in specific regions of Mexico. But the best tequilas? They're made from 100% blue agave. These plants are pretty incredible. They thrive in the volcanic soil of Jalisco at altitudes over 1,500 meters, and they take 7 to 12 years before they're ready for harvest. The star of the show is the piña, the heart of the agave plant. It's called a piña because when the spiky leaves are cut away, it looks like a giant pineapple. And when we say giant, we mean it. These piñas can weigh up to 100 kilos. Harvesting. Now let's talk about the unsung heroes of tequila, the jimadores. These skilled workers have been harvesting agave for centuries, passing down their craft from generation to generation. Armed with a special tool called a coa, think of it as a really sharp, round-ended shovel, the jimadores get to work. They skillfully slice away the long, spiky leaves of the agave, revealing the precious piña underneath. It's a bit like peeling a really big, really tough pineapple. But here's the tricky part. The jimadores need to know exactly when to harvest. Harvest too early, and the piña won't have enough sugar. Too late, and all that sugar will have been used up as the plant starts to flower. It's all about timing and expertise. A skilled jimador can harvest up to 150 piñas in a single day. That might sound like a lot, but remember, each of those piñas took years to grow. In the fields of Jalisco, jimadores harvest between 300,000 and 400,000 piñas every year. From field to factory. Now, once the piñas are harvested, it's time for them to start their journey to becoming tequila. They're loaded onto trucks, sometimes with the help of sturdy mules in more remote areas, and transported to the distillery. At the distillery, like the one run by Don Julio in the town of Atotonilco, they're ready for the next big step. Every day, about 20 tons of piñas arrive here. Each piña is marked with data about where it was grown. This means that when you're sipping your tequila, you could trace it right back to the very field where its agave was grown. But before these giant piñas can become tequila, they need to be prepared. Workers use special axes to chop the piñas into smaller, more manageable pieces. They're careful to remove the top part where new shoots would grow. This could make the tequila taste bitter, and nobody wants that. But then comes a crucial step in the tequila making process: cooking the agave. When the chopped up piñas first enter the processing plant, they're full of starch. But to make tequila, we need sugar. So how do we get from starch to sugar? The answer is heat. Cooking, turning starch into sugar. The chopped piñas are loaded into huge brick ovens. These aren't your average kitchen ovens. Each one can hold about 20 tons of agave. The piñas are steam cooked at 90 degrees Celsius, 194 degrees Fahrenheit, for 79 hours. That's more than 3 days of non-stop cooking. During this long, slow cook, something magical happens. The heat transforms the starch in the agave into sugar. It's a bit like how a potato becomes sweeter when you bake it, but on a much bigger scale. When the piñas come out of the oven, they look completely different. What started as hard, white flesh has turned into something soft, sticky, and reddish brown. The smell is incredible, sweet and rich, filling the air. But how do we get that sugar out? Extraction, squeezing out the sweet stuff. The cooked piñas go into a rotating grinder that cuts them into long, thin fibers. Then massive crushers squeeze these fibers, extracting every last drop of that precious agave juice. But even after crushing, there's still some sugar left in those fibers, so they're washed to make sure we don't miss a drop. The result? A super sweet liquid that's known as honey water. It's not actual honey, but it's just as sweet. In some distilleries, they use a traditional method involving a tahona, a huge stone wheel. This wheel, weighing up to 2 tons, slowly crushes the cooked agave, extracting the juice. It's a method that dates back to when the Spanish first started making tequila in the 1500s. Whether by modern crusher or traditional tahona, the end result is the same: a river of sweet agave juice, ready for the next step. So how do we turn this sugary liquid into alcohol? Fermentation, where the magic happens. The extracted agave juice flows through a maze of pipes into large tanks. These could be made of wood or stainless steel, depending on the distillery. Now we add a very special ingredient: yeast. But this isn't just any yeast you'd find in a grocery store. Many distilleries like Don Julio have their own secret variety of yeast that they've perfected over the years. Once the yeast is added, nature takes over. The yeast gets to work, eating all that sugar and turning it into alcohol and carbon dioxide. This process takes about 72 hours. During this time, the sweet agave juice transforms. Its taste becomes more acidic, and the air fills with a distinctive aroma. After 3 days, most of the sugar has been converted into alcohol. What we have now isn't quite tequila yet, but we're getting close. Distillation, purifying the spirit. The fermented agave juice is now ready for the next big step: distillation. This is where we concentrate the alcohol and really start to shape the character of our tequila. The fermented liquid is transferred into large copper chambers called stills. These stills are heated, causing the alcohol to evaporate. The vapor then condenses back into a liquid, but this time it's much more concentrated. This process happens twice. The first distillation produces a cloudy liquid called ordinario, and the second gives us the clear silver tequila. During distillation, the master distiller plays an important role. They decide which parts of the distilled liquid to keep and which to discard. The first part, called the head, and the last part, the tails, are usually thrown away, leaving only the heart of the distillation. This is where the best flavors and aromas are found. At this stage, we've got a super strong spirit, much too potent to drink as is. The master distiller will add a bit of water to bring the alcohol content down to about 40%. Now we're getting close. For some tequilas, the journey is almost complete. Blanco or silver tequila is bottled right after distillation. But for others, there's one more step: aging. So why is it so important, and what actually happens during this stage? Aging, the final touch. Reposado, añejo, and extra añejo tequilas all spend time in oak barrels before bottling. These barrels, usually made from American white oak, impart additional flavors and that characteristic golden color to the tequila. Reposado tequila is rested for at least 2 months, añejo for at least a year, and extra añejo for a minimum of 3 years. During this time, the tequila absorbs flavors from the wood, becoming smoother and more complex. At Don Julio's warehouse, there's a massive cellar. It houses 9,000 oak barrels, each filled with tequila, slowly maturing to perfection. The barrels are even sprayed with humidifiers to prevent them from drying out and the tequila from evaporating. Bottling, the final step. And so finally, our tequila is ready. But before it goes into bottles, there's one last quality check. The master distiller tastes each batch, ensuring it meets the high standards expected of premium tequila. Once approved, the tequila moves to the bottling area. The bottles are carefully cleaned, often with a quick rinse of alcohol to ensure there's nothing unwanted inside. Then they're filled up to 15,000 bottles a day in some facilities. Each bottle is numbered for traceability, linking it back to the batch it came from, and even the fields where its agave grew. It's a final nod to the care and craftsmanship that goes into every drop of tequila. Every step in the tequila making process is a blend of tradition and innovation. It's a journey that takes years and involves the hard work and passion of countless individuals. So the next time you enjoy a glass of tequila, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey it's been on. And to watch more stuff get made, subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you want to see getting made next in the comments below. Thanks for watching.